Can you give me an example of some superstitions you have heard of?
Black cats are bad when they cross your path. The black cats.
Black cats, 7 years bad luck when you break a mirror.
Flies are lucky.
Not walking under a ladder. Not walking over a crack on a board or something.
Are you superstitious?
Yeah.
What are you superstitious of? Like black cats, stuff like that?
Yeah, mirrors, breaking. I'm really superstitious. I knock on wood. I knock on wood like every minute of my life.
Sometimes, it really depends. I would kind of say I was superstitious in some matters.
I guess to an extent.
Not at all.
No, I don't think I am. I mean, I try not to be.
Not at all.
Nah, like I see a black cat and like I won't think anything of it. I don't really believe in superstitions.
No, not really. I just feel if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Doesn't matter what you do to prevent it.
Yeah, I believe in God. I don't believe in superstitions. There's no such thing as that.
Sometimes it can feel like our Catholic faith is more about rituals and routines than a personal connection with God.
When this happens, we can begin to wonder what it is we believe in and why.
We might start to wonder what holy water has to do with God, or why we bow in front of the altar.
And what about things like the rosary, or statues or holy medals?
Is it faith or just superstition? And how can we tell the difference?
Distinguishing faith from superstition. That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Dylan.
And this is Realfaith TV.
The teens on the street were able to name a number of common superstitions,
With many admitting to being superstitious themselves.
We'll hear more from them a little later in the show, as well as meet our spotlight guest, Matthew Riedlinger, a seminarian studying to be a priest in the Diocese of Trenton. He'll help us identify the differences between faith and superstition.
But first, let's meet our studio guests and see what they have to say about this topic.
They are John, Daniela, Gina, Christina, Andrew, and Casey.
Are you superstitious at all? Like, are there any kinds of superstitions that cross your mind?
Sometimes I like knock on wood when someone says something, because I'm afraid it'll jinx, so I just do it really quick. I just do it as a habit. I don't really think about it.
In sports sometimes, like lacrosse, I kind of have a habit of, I guess it's more of a superstition of stringing a stick a different way, the same way, because I did really well that game or that practice. But no really like faith-related superstitions.
I'm too, like I fall into that, like if I see something, like knock on wood really quick.
For me, it's kind of like when I see black cat or whatever, I kind of just think, I don't even think about the superstition at all. I'm just like, hey, black cat, I want to go pet it, because I'm just a cat-loving person. So
I remember I was talking to some friends at school, and we were talking about how to sell a house, and they were like, oh, well, if you bury St. Joseph facing out from the street upside down, your house will sell that much faster. I was like, wow, I've never heard of that before.
I don't really consider myself superstitious, but I'll knock on wood to make my sister laugh, or I'll tell people who are in the theater with me, break a leg, but I don't put that much stock in it myself. I don't really see what good it could do.
Yeah, there's tons of superstitions out there. The Roman philosopher Cicero once said, "Superstition is the baseless fear of the gods."
He meant that it's possible for people to hold beliefs that do not have a firm foundation.
Many times, people engage in behaviors out of an unfounded fear that their actions have a greater influence on the world around them.
It might seem arrogant to think that if you walk under a ladder, something horrible will happen.
To think that your small movements will shake the earth. But people still adopt these attitudes or superstitions.
Next, our spotlight guest Matthew will share with us some of the superstition he's familiar with.
And why he thinks such beliefs draw so much appeal.
Well, I think there are certain cultural things that we all fall into. For example, saying something and then knocking on wood real fast, a door or a table or whatever. Do I put any trust or faith that, it's not going to happen or going to happen by knocking on wood? No, but it's just one of those things that you do. And also when you see a black cat walk across, the superstition comes to mind, but I myself, I don't put any faith or trust in that. It's just a coincidence. I have in high school, friends who were athletes or whatever who would always wear the same pair of socks the entire wrestling season, which became very, very gross and nasty by January or February, since we were wrestling since November. That's just weird. But they swore that they would win or they would have the most takedowns if they wore this pair of socks. For myself, one thing that I used to do, which hasn't proven true, is I told myself if I had listened to Christian music on the radio or a CD or whatever, I wouldn't get pulled over by a cop. That didn't happen though, so. There's an appeal to superstitions, I think, because everybody wants to be part of something. greater than themselves. And so they think that by doing this, they're part of a tradition, they're part of this power, that they can avoid bad luck, avoid negative consequences if they simply do this. Almost like there's an outside force, that spirits are protecting them, that certain actions will automatically equal certain consequences. Superstitions, well, they put their faith and trust in things that are created, things that come from man, these silly superstitions that someone thought up long ago, and so we just avoid them, or we do them hoping to influence the outcomes.
Yeah, like what he was saying with culture things, there's a lot of superstitions that we've grown up with and seen on TV or heard from family members.
Yeah, I think that a lot of superstitions is kind of just like the old, like the Roman and Greek stories about the gods, where people would try to come up with these stories to explain things that happened that they had no explanation for, because like as humans, we want to feel like we have some kind of reasoning, some kind of control. So why do you guys think that people continue to believe in superstitions even though they're baseless?
And listening to Matt, he said something about we're longing to be a part of something greater than ourselves. And I think that humanness, that we want something that we can see and touch and feel, these superstitions give us that outlet to be like, oh, well, it must be because of this, because I can see this, instead of putting our faith in God.
For me, it's kind of like a habit. Like if I hear something good, I have to knock on wood real quick so it won't like jinx it. So I can't help myself with that.
I feel like a lot of the things is like people, if they, let's say they knock on wood and then it doesn't happen, and they're like, oh yeah, it works. Or like if a black cat like walks in front of their path and then like something bad happens and they're like, oh, it's true. So I feel like if it happens, then they believe like, yeah, this, it's like real.
Keep on doing it.
Yeah, and they keep on doing it.
Yeah, I agree with Casey. I think it's just like a matter of habit, because once you do something a number of times, it's just going to become ingrained in your brain, and even if you don't attribute any kind of meaning to it.
In the world of sports, superstitious rituals and objects are commonplace for both athletes and spectators.
A Major League Baseball player might win a game on a day when he forgot to shave.
He then decides to refrain from shaving all season because he's convinced it has something to do with the team's winning streak.
Fans can be just as unreasonable at times,
dressing up in complete athletic costume just to watch each game from home,
with the fear that if they don't, the team may lose.
Do you think certain rituals or objects can bring you luck?
That's what we asked the teens on the street.
Let's check it out.
Do you believe that certain objects bring you luck, or rituals or things like that?
I don't have anything like that.
No.
No, I think that would be more like superstition.
I believe certain objects bring me luck. I'm really superstitious, actually.
When I see a penny, if it's heads up, I definitely will pick it up, but if it's heads down, I won't, and I feel like if I do, I'll have good luck the rest of the day.
I wear my rings every day because I feel like I'm gonna have a bad day if I don't wear my rings. Every day. It's like, I've had these 3 rings on for like 4 years, never take them off.
Before baseball games, I can't have 3 glasses of water, or else for some reason I just feel like I'm gonna do horrible.
I have the same routine when I come out of the shower every day, or else my day's gonna be bad.
Well, I always wear this necklace that I got here. I think it brings me good luck.
Just my cross.
Cross right here.
No, I don't really have no lucky boxers or anything like that. I mean, luck is just like, it just happens. You can't really, make it happen.
I don't believe in luck. I believe, you make your own luck. You make your own, well-being.
I don't really have anything that I'm like attached to that really I'm like, oh well, I'm not going to win this game because I don't have my lucky bracelet on. I don't really believe in that. I just believe it's your ability to really bring out what you have.
In the 10 Commandments, God tells us, "You shall have no other gods before me."
In a way, superstitions are false gods. We take the power out of God's hands and assign it to a rabbit's foot, a lucky number, or even lucky socks.
The Catholic Catechism says, superstition, in some sense, represents a perverse excess of religion.
By this they mean that to assign a religious nature to everything and anything is not reasonable.
Next, Matthew talks with us about the conflict that exists between Christianity and superstition,
and how trust should always be in God, above all things.
The conflict between Christianity and superstition is that as Christians, following the first commandment, to love God above all things, he always has to be first and foremost. So to put our faith in a lucky rabbit's foot, a lucky pair of socks that we wear to our games, or to always have a certain ritual that we go to, not to shave before a big basketball game, things like that. Well, that's not putting your faith in God. That's putting your trust, your beliefs in some man-made practice, and well, that can merit nothing. These things are harmless in themselves, but when you start to trust them, when you start to trust these things that we do, rather than God, rather than trusting only in Jesus, that's where the problem comes in. Faith always points to God. God is the source. God is the one, the uncreated, the good, the beautiful. That's faith. Superstitions point to themselves. So when you do something, are you doing it because you have faith and trust and love of God? Or are you doing it because you think the object, the action, has power within itself?
Yeah, I know a lot of times me and my friends get caught up with like karma and who's done what to who and what's going to happen to them. But as Catholics, we know that that's not how it works. And God gave us free will. And we see that in life sometimes good stuff, bad stuff does happen to good people. But it's important to keep our faith in God, not any kind of karma or superstitions like that. So how about you guys? You guys put your faith in horoscopes or fortunes or anything like that sometimes instead of God?
I mean, like personally, I haven't really put my faith in any superstitions, but I always see kids, you know, they'll get the fortune cookies, you know, with their Chinese food, and they'll always look at the fortune, and it's so general that it can like relate to anybody, and your mind kind of just makes that connection, and it just makes you feel good. So I think they rely on that kind of.
Like when I go to the boardwalk or any carnival or whatever, I do, you know, the games, like you can put your number, you can pick any number you want with the quarter. Like you put the quarter on the number, like 7, I'm gonna go with 7 because that's my lucky number, and you don't win. But it's like maybe every 10th time, maybe you win. But like it's something I used to do, but I'm realizing now it's like, hey, it's any other number. It's just gonna go by itself anyways. So.
I feel like when like people go get like the readings and like their fortune told to them, I feel like they like make it seem like it's like they make it happen. They get it read and then like their mind tells them like, oh, this is what's gonna happen, like self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, that. And like I feel like we make ourselves like believe it. It's not really what's gonna happen. And I don't know.
Yeah, because I used to do that when I read my horoscope. So one day I realized, like, let me see what happened if I read it at night instead of the morning. So none of this stuff happened. So that's when I, like, stopped believing in it.
Something that I do at night that a couple of friends told me about is examination of conscience night, just to go through the day and be like, oh, this is what has gone on my day, this is where I've seen God, this is what I've messed up on, and this is what I need to fix.
The Catechism warns that superstitions can affect the worship we offer the true God.
For example, when one gives an importance to practices which they believe to be magical.
And it's important to realize that this is true of all superstitious behavior.
Sometimes we assign these magical attributes to religious things.
We know people who pass around statues of saints or Mary to gain prosperity, or who use religious medals as a sort of good luck charm.
The fact is, statues are reminders to us of those who have lived holy lives and cannot bless us just by sitting on our dining room tables.
They can be an object to focus our attention on while we reflect on God's work in a saint's life.
Likewise, holy medals can be used to deepen our consciousness of God's grace in our daily lives.
Let's go back to our spotlight guest, Matthew, where he discusses the significance of holy items.
And how they are reminders of our faith and not just objects for superstition.
Our faith is full of tradition, especially with regards to art, statues, icons, stained glass windows, cathedrals, and also the brown scapular, the miraculous medal, the green scapular, crosses, the indulgence crucifix, all these things. Now these things are great because they're reminders, they're signs. We look at them and then they direct our attention to a higher reality. We see a statue of the Blessed Mother and we're recalled about her purity, the Immaculate Conception, her Assumption, what have you. So these things that we wear, these things that we possess, these things that we look at and we venerate, the attention doesn't stop there. The object itself, well, that doesn't do anything. Certainly it's very beautiful, it has value, it's artistic, but there's no power in that. Power comes from God. So if a sign can point our direction, our attention to God, that's what we mean. I wear a miraculous medal. I've had it since confirmation. At first, when my grandma gave it to me, I really didn't think much of it. But then I read the history and I became interested and I've just always kept it. Of course, I love the Blessed Mother very, very much. I have a great devotion to her, but not for any superstitious reasons. I mean, there are days where I just forget to put it on in the morning, and I don't think, oh no, I'm going to have a bad day, bad luck will come upon me, or, bad things are going to happen, certain, misfortunes. Rather, just a reminder that the Blessed Mother is always with me, always looking out for me. So it's more like a sign, a symbol that reminds me of Mary. So it's more of a reminder that Mary's always with me, she's always protecting me, always watching out for me. Not that the medal itself or the chain or the gold or anything like that is important, but that it points beyond this world, it points to heaven.
Some of the things we believe as Christians are amazing.
We believe that Jesus rose from the dead. We believe that our souls are made pure through the waters of baptism.
We believe in the power of prayer.
Those are all pretty big ideas. We need to have faith in order to really believe in them.
But these things aren't baseless. These things all point to the power of God, who loves us and created us, who sent Jesus to save us.
We have Scripture and the traditions of the early church to teach us about these beliefs.
Can we put our hope in a medal, cross, or rosary? No. But we can put our hope in the God they represent, the Almighty.
So how is faith in God different from everyday superstition?
That's what we asked the teens on the street.
Let's take a look.
So how is faith different from superstition?
Faith is something that you believe is real, not something that you kind of believe is fake, like superstition. Like when you break a mirror, you have bad luck for 7 years.
It's strong, it'll hold you up, when superstitions are just like silly little beliefs, I feel like.
And superstitions are, I guess, old stories or old customs that they used to foretell or whatever. It's not connected with God.
Superstition, I guess, is like something that people like made up, and faith is like when you believe in God, and God is real.
I think superstition is kind of being scared or like nervous about something you don't really believe in, but I think faith is having a for sure belief in something and having peace in that.
How does your relationship with God help you through times of doubt and to avoid becoming superstitious?
When I speak to God in prayers or, whenever I'm feeling down, he helps me, It's always someone to talk to, and if I'm ever holding something, and I always have someone to talk to, even if physically I'm alone.
Well, my relationship with God has always carried me through like the toughest times in my life. So I have faith in God, and I don't really, believe in the stupid like little superstitions. I mean, sometimes you have something for good luck, but otherwise, I really don't believe in it.
Just say a quick prayer. Just ask him to look out for me.
I just pray every night before I go to sleep, and that helps.
Sometimes when I go through like a hard time, I always pray to God. And he always gives me some type of strength, some type of support.
I don't know. I think if you really think about it and and you go with your faith, you'll know what what really is true.
Well, I think we all stray in the wrong path sometimes, and I know I have. And by praying to God every day, it brings you more closer to Him, and it makes you believe that He'll help you at times when you need Him.
How do you guys view your own faith?
I view my faith as kind of like the central part of my life. Like it's always there. It supports me. It gives me morals with which to live my life, and I mean it's important to me. And I don't think it could be confused with a superstition really, because even though I ask for saints' intercessions before I go on stage in a play or if I'm looking for something, it's still, I'm asking them to intercede on my behalf with God.
I try to avoid superstitions. I remember growing up, I used to think prayer was I had to do it a correct way, or I had to do it at a certain time, or God was going to smite me, and then I'd be, oh no, I'm in trouble, and the anger would be unleashed on me. But then I remember getting to a point in my life where I was like, you know what? Prayer is supposed to be used to get to know God and to deepen my relationship and to feel that love.
Finally, our Spotlight guest Matthew talks about how superstition has permeated the mainstream culture.
And how sometimes it can even lead down darker paths.
Superstition is one of those things that there's a spectrum of it. Now there's the innocent ones that we all know about, that we're all familiar with, knocking on wood, the black cat, breaking a mirror, 7 years bad luck or whatever. But then our society, our culture is so permeated with all these different superstitions. Walking on the boardwalk at the shore, you see stands for fortune telling, for crystal balls, for tarot card reading. In the newspapers, there's always those horoscopes. You go to a restaurant, you get a Chinese fortune cookie or whatever. People are so anxious to crack those open and see, good luck or bad luck, or what are my lucky numbers? And then they run out and they play those numbers in the lottery. Why are people so quick to read their horoscope and take life advice from that, rather than seek spiritual direction, rather than go and sit before the monstrance in Eucharistic adoration and take direction from the Lord of life, from the source of life, from Jesus himself? And not only those types of superstitions that we don't even recognize, tarot cards, crystal balls, fortune tellers, horoscopes, but then the next level, which is even worse, is the Ouija boards and the occult. The devil is trying to play a trick on us all. He's trying to convince us that he doesn't exist. The devil is not going to appear with a pitchfork and horns and a red pointy tail. No, the devil is going to come first and foremost, subtly in our temptations, but slowly he's going to lure us away from God through objects, through friends, and finally through blatant means such as the occult, such as tarot cards, and putting your faith in death and darkness and demons and things like that.
In life, you always come to like a fork in the road, and you have to choose one of the two paths. And like Matthew was saying, the devil he tries to influence you to do the wrong thing, take the wrong path. But ultimately, in the long run, faith is what's going to help you to take the right path.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to watch superstitious stuff on TV for entertainment, but you need to remember it's just TV, it's not real, so don't take it a step further in your faith.
Yeah, it seems like that's what we've got to watch out for, is just putting any kind of faith in superstitions and stuff like that, because God is the guiding force in our lives, and he wants us to do well, he wants to help us. And if we detract any kind of attention from him and put it onto superstitions, then we're losing out on some of that just amazing love that he has for us.
Yeah, we have to trust him with like those situations and stuff, that he'll get us through it. And yeah.
Exactly.
And even in those situations, maybe instead of looking at your daily horoscope, you could take the time to actually open the Bible and read and find the love that he has for you and actually read about it.
Yeah, like I used to be a really superstitious person. I would do knock on wood and read my horoscopes, and I realized that that's not what God wants. Like I have to believe in God, and I don't have to look to horoscopes to live my life and live through the horoscopes. I have to follow God.
Yeah, and if you come to think of it, someone writes that horoscope, so why would we listen to them? And they tell us how to live our lives. Are they more powerful than God? So I think that's ridiculous that people listen to horoscopes because of that reason.
Yeah, definitely. And what Matt was saying, the devil, he gets in there slowly, and you might start out maybe playing with a Ouija board at someone's party or something, and you don't realize it, and then you're looking at your horoscope every day, going to fortune tellers, and then it might get more serious and you just keep getting comfortable. And it can get really risky as you go down there.
Yeah, it definitely can. I've seen people at school, even actually some of my family members, there was a passing that was of a person who was young, and she was close to a lot of my family members, and they went into all that stuff. They went to those things where you sit and you think you can hear the other people's spirits talking to them and all that stuff. And I asked them, how do you put faith in something like that and still believe in God? And it's not like they really had an answer for me, and yet they still went. So, and also at school, you see kids who you can tell have gone down the wrong path, and you just got to pray for them that they find God and kind of leave all the darkness behind and just move on towards the light.
As stated in Hebrews, faith is the realization of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen.
True faith is not based on fear. Rather, it is based on trust.
We see God at work in our lives, through our own gifts and talents, the love of our families, and the gifts that others are to us.
We believe in God's love and mercy because we've experienced it.
Faith doesn't mean praying because we fear being struck by lightning if we don't.
It means praying because we desire to communicate with the one who has called us to share in his life and love.
Can you distinguish faith from superstition?
We'd like to know. Contact us through our website.
The address is www.realfaithtv.com.
Or you can call us at 609-406-7402.
And we'll leave you today with this final thought.
Faith is trusting that your parachute will open when you jump.
And superstition makes God equal to rocks and socks and salt thrown over your shoulder.
Our church is not based on fear.
It's based on a hope and a promise of eternity, and a statement that says,
I believe there's more to life than what I can see.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Real Faith TV.
God bless.